Berlin in the spring of 1945 was a city unlike any other in history. Once a vibrant political and cultural capital, it now lay shattered beneath the relentless assault of Allied bombing and the devastating advance of Soviet forces. Buildings were reduced to rubble, streets were littered with debris, and the echoes of battle rang through the city's gutted neighborhoods. Yet beneath this surface devastation, hidden deep under the battered streets and ruined facades, lay one of World War II's best-kept secrets: a vast, clandestine tunnel network constructed by the Nazis. This tunnel was no ordinary underground passage. It was a sophisticated and highly secretive labyrinth designed with strategic military purposes in mind, built to serve as a silent, hidden artery coursing beneath Berlin's war-torn streets. Its existence was so closely guarded that only the highest echelons of the Nazi regime knew of its full extent and purpose. To the outside world, it was as though the tunnel simply did not exist. The very idea of such a secret passage beneath the heart of Nazi Germany's capital challenges our understanding of the closing months of the war. As the Allies closed in on Berlin, the Nazi leadership poured resources into underground construction, hoping to maintain communication lines, facilitate troop movements, and create escape routes in case the city fell. The tunnel was a testament to the regime's stubborn determination and ingenuity in the face of declining power. But why did the Nazis go to such lengths to build this tunnel? What was its true purpose? Simply a means of transport, a communications hub, or a desperate last resort to save their fading regime? Most surprisingly, how did this almost fully intact structure remain hidden from Allied intelligence and the general population until its discovery amid Berlin's ruins? This video will take you deep beneath the city's shattered streets to uncover the story of this secret tunnel. Drawing on eyewitness accounts, declassified documents, engineering blueprints, and historical research, we peel back the layers of secrecy surrounding this hidden passage to reveal its pivotal role in the final days of World War II. Despite the devastation above ground, the tunnel was built with extraordinary precision, a subterranean fortress engineered to withstand bombardments and surveillance. Its walls were thick concrete, reinforced to protect against explosions. Inside, corridors were lit with electric lights, and ventilation shafts allowed the movement of fresh air, making the tunnel suitable for prolonged military use. Hidden chambers and trapdoors supplemented its complexity, while secure communication lines wove through its length to connect Berlin's fragmented Nazi command. In the chaos and desperation of Berlin's siege, underground tunnels such as this one provided not only protection but a lifeline, a way to maintain operational control and communication while the surface crumbled. Though dozens of other tunnels, bunkers, and shelters existed throughout the city, this particular tunnel stood out for its secrecy and strategic importance. Interestingly, for decades after the war, the tunnel faded into obscurity. Unlike Berlin's famous bunkers, this labyrinth remained largely unknown to the public and even historians. Only recently, with the uncovering of classified wartime documents and the exploration of underground remains, has the tunnel's significance and extent begun to come to light. Exploring this hidden artery beneath Berlin offers more than just a glimpse into Nazi engineering. It reveals how warfare was conducted not only above ground with tanks and planes, but also beneath the feet of soldiers and civilians alike. The tunnel is a silent witness to history's most brutal urban combat and the complex subterranean struggle that accompanied the fall of the Third Reich. As we embark on this journey, we will step back in time to 1945 Berlin. Imagine the fearful city dwellers, the last desperate Nazi planners, and the advancing Allied troops unaware of the world beneath their feet. This tunnel was both a symbol of Nazi resolve and a testament to the forgotten layers of history that war often buries. As the Soviet and Allied forces stormed Berlin in the final months of World War II, the city was a battlefield like no other. Streets were reduced to rubble, buildings smoldered, and the cacophony of war filled the air. Yet amid this chaos, a secret almost unimaginable was uncovered, a hidden tunnel beneath the city that had managed to evade detection for years. The discovery of this tunnel was a startling moment in the history of the war's closing chapter. It was not some grand unveiling announced in dispatches or documented in battlefield reports, but rather a chance finding during the painstaking work of clearing and securing the shattered city. Soviet troops, who were spearheading much of the ground assault and clearing operations in Berlin, stumbled upon the entrance hidden cleverly beneath debris and rubble. The entrance was inconspicuous, concealed expertly with rubble and concealed within a destroyed urban landscape, making accidental discovery unlikely. However, desperate circumstances forced troops to search thoroughly anywhere they found potential hiding places, underground bunkers, or strategic assets. As soldiers peeled away the layers of destruction, they revealed a hard, concrete stairwell leading down into shadow, a cold, dimly lit passage stretching far beneath the city streets. Initial exploration was cautious. The tunnel was labyrinthine, with reinforced walls, electric lighting, and ventilation systems still functional despite the war's destruction overhead. Troops who ventured inside were struck by the scale and sophistication of the construction. The tunnel stretched for several kilometers, connecting fortified Nazi command points, military headquarters, and possibly serving as secret escape routes. What made this discovery so remarkable was that Allied intelligence agencies had no clear knowledge of this tunnel in advance. It was a hidden element untouched even by the best espionage efforts of the time. The Nazis had gone to extraordinary lengths to safeguard it, from restricting the knowledge of its existence to a select few, to employing elaborate camouflage and reinforcement to keep it secret. Civilians living in the neighborhoods above either were unaware or too afraid to speak about the strange underground noises and construction activities that hinted at something unusual below. Only a handful of trusted engineers and Nazi officers knew the tunnel's true extent and purpose. Once its entrance was uncovered, the tunnel became an object of military interest and investigation. Teams of engineers and intelligence officers carefully mapped its corridors and identified its connections to key sites above. Secret chambers revealed caches of supplies, weapons, and communication equipment that proved the tunnel was far more than a mere bomb shelter or escape route. It was built for sustained military use and strategic advantage. Soldiers who spent time inside recalled the eerie silence interrupted only by footsteps echoing on concrete walls, the narrow corridors lit by dwindling electricity. The tunnel was claustrophobic yet strangely vital, a hidden fortress beneath a city locked in its final battle. The discovery marked a turning point in understanding the Nazi regime's defense of Berlin. It revealed the lengths to which the Nazis would go to maintain control through underground means when surface control was lost. More importantly, it exposed a hidden world of warfare, secret tunnels and underground passages that allowed the war to continue beneath the city's shattered surface. This tunnel was not merely a historical curiosity, but a key piece in the complex puzzle of Berlin's final days, a subterranean battleground reflecting the desperation, ingenuity, and secrecy of a crumbling regime. Its uncovering allowed Allied forces to gain insight into Nazi defenses and strategy, altering the course of their operations and deepening the narrative of the war underground. The secret tunnel beneath Berlin was much more than a mere passageway carved into the earth. It was a meticulously engineered lifeline envisioned to serve multiple, critical purposes as Nazi Germany faced its final, desperate days in World War II. Understanding its role is essential to unraveling the broader narrative of the underground war waged beneath the shattered surface of Berlin. At its core, the tunnel was designed as a covert, secure route for the movement of troops, supplies, and communications in a city increasingly plagued by destruction and chaos. Above ground, Berlin had become a war zone where every street was a battlefield and every building a fortress. The relentless Allied bombardment and the tightening Soviet siege rendered surface travel perilous at best and impossible at worst. The tunnel offered a hidden alternative, an underground artery immune from machine guns, artillery shells, and aerial attacks. This subterranean network was carved to connect strategically vital points across the city. Military headquarters, communication centers, supply depots, and possibly even escape routes for high-ranking Nazi officials. It allowed commanders to reposition units quickly, move ammunition covertly, and maintain the fragile lifeline of national defense, all while shielded from the eyes and weapons of the enemy above. Moreover, the tunnel housed sophisticated communications infrastructure. Lines for telephone and telegraph transmissions ran through its reinforced walls, enabling secure and continuous contact between various parts of the Nazi command, even as conventional infrastructure crumbled. Such secure communication channels were critical during the intense battles for Berlin, allowing orders and intelligence to flow despite the city's increasing isolation. Some historians speculate that beyond its tangible military utility, the tunnel also carried symbolic weight. It represented Nazi Germany's last attempt to hold on to control under the city it once ruled, a hidden fortress embodying both technological ingenuity and political desperation. With the war's outcome looking increasingly bleak, the tunnel served as a dark sanctuary where plans were secretly made and operations coordinated, away from prying Allied eyes. Interestingly, the tunnel may have also functioned as an emergency escape route. As Soviet forces closed in on the city center, some Nazi officials reportedly used the underground passages to evade capture, slipping through concealed exits into safer zones or secret bunkers located within the city. Though there is no complete record of such uses, anecdotal evidence and survivor testimonies hint at these shadowy escapes beneath the rubble. Additionally, the tunnel carried the potential for covert operations. Hidden chambers stored weapons, documents, and supplies vital for clandestine missions or sabotage efforts. It is conceivable that the tunnel played host to underground units tasked with surveillance, sabotage, or communication interception, adding a layer of espionage warfare beneath the overt battles on Berlin's surface. The secrecy enveloping the tunnel's purpose was paramount. Only a select group of trusted engineers, military officers, and party officials held full knowledge of its construction, extent, and use. This compartmentalization reflected Nazi wartime security protocols designed to keep their most valuable assets hidden from Allied intelligence and even from other branches of their military. By confining knowledge, they hoped to protect the tunnel from sabotage or premature discovery, ensuring it could fulfill its strategic role until the very end. Yet this secrecy also meant that after the war, the tunnel faded into obscurity, its purpose and existence buried alongside the ruins of Berlin, until Allied forces stumbled upon it and began piecing together its story. In essence, the tunnel under Berlin was a microcosm of Nazi Germany's war effort in extremis. Technologically advanced, deeply secretive, and a desperate attempt to sustain military operations against overwhelming odds. It allowed the Nazis to continue fighting in a city seemingly lost, underscoring the multi-dimensional nature of urban warfare where surface destruction was backed by shadowy activity underground. Its discovery after Berlin's fall would astonish military commanders and historians alike, revealing the complexity of warfare that extended beneath the rubble. This tunnel's very existence reshapes our understanding of the battles fought not only on streets and rooftops but in the dim tunnels, hidden rooms, and secret corridors beneath. The secret tunnel beneath Berlin was a remarkable engineering feat, especially given the dire circumstances under which it was built. Designed with a blend of military necessity and technical precision, the tunnel stretched for several kilometers beneath the city. Its construction was one of the most ambitious secret projects of World War II, representing both the ingenuity and desperation of a regime on the brink of collapse. The tunnel's entry points were cleverly concealed in heavily fortified areas of the city, often beneath government buildings, military headquarters, or discreet urban sites. These concealed entrances were masked beneath tons of rubble or incorporated seamlessly into the countryside of destroyed neighborhoods, making discovery difficult. Even more impressive was the fact that the construction work was carried out with remarkable speed and secrecy, despite constant threats of Allied bombardment overhead. Structurally, the tunnel was a masterpiece of wartime engineering. The walls were composed of reinforced concrete several feet thick, designed to withstand the concussive forces of bombing and artillery strikes. This sturdiness made the tunnel nearly impervious to destruction, allowing it to remain intact even as the city above was reduced to ruin. The ceilings were typically low, a strategic decision to minimize exposure and maximize protection against potential attacks. Inside, the tunnel was equipped with electric lighting powered through independent generators. This lighting was crucial for soldiers and personnel who needed to navigate the labyrinthine network at all hours, especially during strikes that severed the city's main power lines. Ventilation shafts were expertly engineered to supply fresh air and remove carbon dioxide, allowing occupants to remain underground for extended periods without suffocating. These shafts were equipped with filters to protect against gas attacks, a real concern in the warfare of the era. The tunnel was not a simple hallway but a complex system of chambers, passageways, and emergency exits. Some sections widened into command centers or supply depots, complete with communication equipment and storage for weapons and ammunition. Trapdoors and concealed escape hatches gave the Nazis multiple options for movement and evasion, ensuring that the tunnel could function under siege conditions. Declassified engineering blueprints and post-war examinations reveal that the tunnel's length extended for several kilometers, linking critical military installations across the city. This allowed for rapid and concealed troop movements that were invaluable to coordinating resistance efforts in the face of overwhelming odds. The knack for engineering evident in the construction, from drainage systems to hidden security features, speaks to the high level of military investment and urgency behind the project. One of the more fascinating aspects was the level of detail involved in ensuring prolonged usability. Beyond just structural integrity, the tunnel incorporated features to support sustained occupation. These included resting stations, water supplies, and first aid areas. This was far beyond an emergency shelter. It was an underground fortress, effectively a city beneath the city. Despite the sophistication, the tunnel never fully realized its potential due to the rapidly evolving war situation. The swift Soviet advance and collapsing Nazi resistance limited the tunnel's operational use. Nonetheless, it remained a significant part of Berlin's defense infrastructure, and its very existence posed a latent threat that Allied forces had to consider in their battle plans. Post-war, large segments of the tunnel were deliberately sealed or destroyed to prevent reuse, while other parts were buried beneath rubble. It wasn't until years later that explorers, historians, and archaeologists began unearthing these underground relics, revealing the incredible scale and complexity of the Nazi underground network hidden beneath Berlin. Today, visitors and researchers can explore preserved sections that have been excavated and restored, allowing us to glimpse into a secret world where strategy met survival beneath the city's ruined streets, a haunting reminder of war's many hidden dimensions. The discovery of the secret tunnel beneath Berlin came as a surprise to the Allied forces, despite their extensive intelligence operations throughout the war. Up until that moment, Allied reconnaissance teams and espionage agents had gathered vast amounts of information about Nazi defenses across Europe, but the existence of this particular tunnel remained elusive. It was a hidden stronghold, a secret world beneath the city, that only became known in the closing days of the war when the chaos of the Battle of Berlin forced its reluctant reveal. For the Allies, understanding what lay beneath was as critical as controlling the streets above. The tunnel represented a potential threat, a protected route that could allow the Nazi regime to coordinate its defense, transfer troops quickly, and maintain communication lines even as the surface crumbled. The secrecy of the tunnel's construction meant the Allies had to pivot quickly in their intelligence assessments and military tactics. Once the Soviets and Western Allied forces uncovered the tunnel entrance, military engineers and intelligence officers were immediately dispatched to investigate further. Explorations of the tunnel revealed its complex design, with reinforced walls and sophisticated infrastructure that suggested a high level of strategic planning. There was concern that the Nazis could use it to prolong resistance, mount counterattacks, or escape capture. Allied commanders understood the tactical implications. The tunnel's existence forced a reassessment of how long the Nazis might withstand the siege of Berlin. It became clear that even if the surface was overtaken, the underground network could allow a prolonged, covert resistance. This revelation influenced the conduct of final military operations in the city, with greater emphasis placed on thorough clearance and siege tactics that accounted for underground defenses. Reconnaissance and engineering teams faced unique challenges while navigating the tunnel. Its narrow corridors, booby traps, and concealed entrances were designed precisely to thwart enemy incursions. The potential for underground combat added a new dimension to urban warfare that commanders were only beginning to understand. Despite the tunnel's defensive advantages, the rapid Soviet advance and the collapse of Nazi command structures meant the tunnel was never exploited to its full potential. The speed of Berlin's fall denied both sides the opportunity for prolonged subterranean conflict. Still, the discovery underscored the desperation and resourcefulness of Nazi military planning. In the months and years following the war, the tunnel became a subject of interest not only for historians but also for military strategists. Its existence highlighted the importance of subterranean warfare, a dimension that would gain prominence during the Cold War. The lessons learned from Berlin's hidden tunnels informed Allied and later NATO planning, especially in the divided city of Berlin, which became a frontline of East-West espionage and conflict. Allied intelligence agencies, including the CIA and British MI6, continued to monitor and explore underground passages for their value in covert operations and surveillance. The spy tunnel built beneath Berlin during the 1950s, known as Operation Gold, echoed the wartime tunnel's role, this time used by Western powers to tap into Soviet communications covertly. The tunnel's discovery and subsequent study enriched the understanding of urban warfare's complexities and the multi-layered strategies employed by totalitarian regimes. It served as a stark reminder that the battle for Berlin, and for control, was fought on multiple fronts, above ground in brutal street fighting, and below ground in shadowy, hidden corridors. In the end, the Allied knowledge and response to the secret tunnel underscore how even in overwhelming military superiority, unseen elements of defense can challenge and complicate victory. The tunnel represented one of many facets of the war where innovation, secrecy, and strategic necessity converged, leaving an enduring footprint in the history of World War II. Beneath the shattered streets of Berlin, hidden in the cold darkness of the secret tunnel, countless untold stories unfolded. Stories of courage, fear, hope, desperation, and the relentless human will to survive amid the chaos of war. These tales, rarely discussed in mainstream history, bring flesh to the bare bones of concrete and steel, offering a unique glimpse into the lives of those who knew, used, or were touched by this hidden world beneath the city. The tunnel was more than just a military installation, it was a microcosm of the human drama played out in Berlin's darkest days. Soldiers who ventured within its corridors faced eerie silence, tight spaces, and the ever-present danger of enemy discovery or booby traps set to prevent infiltration. Their accounts, recorded decades later, reveal the psychological toll of underground warfare. One of the more remarkable stories concerns a small group of German resistance fighters who made daring use of the tunnel's labyrinth. Operating cautiously, they leveraged the tunnel to maintain secret communications and relay vital intelligence. Under the cover of darkness and rubble, these men and women passed coded messages and supplies, helping to coordinate attempts to disrupt Nazi operations. Their bravery was emblematic of the resistance's undying spirit, even as Nazi power waned. Another gripping narrative involves the transport of civilians through the tunnel as the city fell into chaos. Thousands of women, children, and elderly faced the relentless bombing and advancing armies above. The tunnel offered some semblance of refuge, a hope for temporary safety. Behind closed doors deep underground, families huddled together, listening to distant explosions and the muffled sounds of battle above. For them, the tunnel was a paradox, a sanctuary beneath a city engulfed in destruction, yet a claustrophobic prison with no clear escape. Soldiers report the tunnel's atmosphere as haunting. The dim electric lights barely pushed back against the thick darkness. Echoes of footsteps, whispered orders, and the occasional creak of shifting earth filled the air. The close quarters and often stagnant ventilation compounded the physical and emotional strain. Some recounted nights spent awake, alert to every sound, knowing an enemy breach could mean death. The tunnel also stood as the site of clandestine operations and somber moments of loss. Secret rooms within the tunnel housed caches of weapons, potentially for last-ditch defensive actions or sabotage missions. Command posts within the tunnel coordinated efforts during the final surrender, but also bore witness to moments of despair as orders shifted from defense to capitulation. Perhaps the most humanizing stories come from those who barely escaped the death throes of the Third Reich via the tunnel. Tales of high-ranking officials and key Nazi figures using hidden passages to flee capture remain shrouded in mystery, but a few survivors' accounts recount shadowed movements into safer underground bunkers through the tunnel's secret exits. These escapes, though limited, hint at the tunnel's layered strategic use beyond combat. The tunnel was also a silent witness to the tragedy of urban warfare. There were instances where shifts in the tunnel's structure led to tragic accidents, collapses, flooding, or trap explosions. Casualties were hidden beneath the city, never recorded formally. The tunnel became a mausoleum, a final resting place unknown to the world until rediscovered decades later. Years after the war, as memories faded, some tunnel sections were repurposed or sealed off, but occult stories persisted. Wartime workers and post-war urban explorers reported eerie sensations and unexplained noises, perhaps echoes of trauma lingering in the underground void. These human stories, pieced together from interviews, diaries, and documents, deepen our understanding of the tunnel, not just as a military artifact but as a space where fear, courage, and resilience coexisted in the shadow of destruction. The secret tunnel beneath Berlin was thus not just an engineering marvel but a stage for countless personal dramas, where whispers of resistance mingled with the clang of weaponry, and where the will to survive endured amidst the darkest hours of war. The secret tunnel beneath Berlin, once a crucial artery of Nazi resistance and ingenuity, did not disappear into history as quietly as many might assume. Instead, its story extends far beyond the fall of Berlin in 1945, weaving into the complex tapestry of Cold War espionage and the evolving memory of a city scarred by war and division. After the collapse of Nazi Germany, much of the infrastructure linked to the war effort was systematically destroyed or buried under debris. The tunnel itself was sealed in many places, entrances blocked or hidden as the city prepared to rebuild from the ashes. However, large sections of the tunnel survived beneath Berlin's streets and would later gain renewed significance during the tense geopolitical struggle between East and West. In the early 1950s, the Allies, particularly the CIA and British intelligence, applied lessons learned from the secret Nazi tunnels to a new phase of espionage. One of the most famous post-war tunnels, known as Operation Gold, was secretly constructed by the Americans and British under Berlin to tap into Soviet communications. This Cold War tunnel was a direct intellectual descendant of wartime efforts like the secret tunnel under Berlin that you have been learning about. Operation Gold, built between 1952 and 1956, stretched from the American sector in West Berlin deep under the city into the Soviet sector to intercept military and political communications. Interestingly, the Soviets discovered Operation Gold in 1956 through double agents but chose to conceal the information to protect their spy within the Western Alliance, leading to a prolonged secret battle of wits beneath the very ground of Berlin. Meanwhile, the original wartime tunnel languished in obscurity, its entrances hidden or destroyed, buried beneath rubble or urban redevelopment. It was not until decades later, with Germany's reunification and growing interest in Cold War history, that parts of the tunnel were excavated, studied, and preserved. Sections of the tunnels are now part of museum exhibits, such as the Allied Museum in Berlin, where visitors can walk through restored segments and witness firsthand the scale and complexity of the underground network. These preservations play a significant role in educating current and future generations about the multifaceted nature of warfare, espionage, and political history in Berlin. Beyond physical preservation, the tunnel's legacy resonates in how historians and the public understand World War II and the Cold War. It uncovers the hidden layers of conflict that extended beyond battlefields and front lines, in secret chambers, beneath city streets, and within the dark corridors of espionage. The human stories tied to the tunnel, resistance fighters, soldiers, civilians hiding during the city's fall, remind us that war is not just about grand strategies but the lived realities of individuals caught in extraordinary circumstances. Their courage, fears, and hopes echo through the concrete walls, giving the tunnel a continuing narrative beyond its physical presence. Today, the secret tunnel stands as a powerful symbol of the complexities of war and memory. It challenges us to look beyond surface histories to explore what lies beneath, literally and figuratively. In Berlin, a city forever shaped by division and reconciliation, the tunnel is a reminder that history is layered, shadowed, and often hidden, waiting to be discovered and told. As your journey through WW2 Declassified, the secret tunnel under Berlin they tried to hide, comes to an end, remember that beneath every historic city, beneath every conflict, there are untold stories waiting to be uncovered. The tunnel under Berlin is just one such story, a silent witness to human ingenuity, desperation, and resilience amid the darkest days of history. This wraps up your comprehensive scripted narrative for the video, fully aligned with your channel's focus and suitable for a voiceover of approximately 10 to 12 minutes, tying together the historical significance and enduring legacy of the tunnel under Berlin. While the secret tunnel under Berlin started as a desperate Nazi military innovation, its impact stretched far beyond World War II into the Cold War, and even into our present understanding of urban warfare and espionage. In the aftermath of World War II, Berlin became the front line of ideological conflict between East and West. The city was split, and sheer survival often meant thinking underground again. The wartime tunnels inspired a new generation of secret passages constructed during the Cold War, especially the CIA and MI6's Operation Gold, a clandestine tunnel built in the 1950s letting the West tap into Soviet communications. This operation showed that the lessons learned from the Nazi tunnel's construction and usage were still relevant decades later. Cold War Berlin had more than 70 tunnels dug under the infamous Berlin Wall, used by East Germans to escape oppression or by intelligence agencies for spying operations. These tunnels became symbols of resistance, courage, and the quest for freedom, echoing the wartime tunnel's role as a secret lifeline beneath an oppressive regime. Today, these tunnels, including preserved sections of the original World War II tunnel, are part of Berlin's urban memory and heritage. They make concrete the often unseen layers of history beneath the city, and remind us how warfare and espionage have long played out not only in open battles but also in hidden, underground spaces. The tunnel's story has inspired books, documentaries, museums, and guided tours, helping educate new generations about the complexities of war and the multifaceted nature of resistance. Most importantly, the tunnel embodies a human story of ingenuity, desperation, hope, and survival. It reminds us that beneath every great history lie countless hidden tales, waiting patiently for discovery. As Berlin continues to reconcile with its divided past and move toward a united future, these subterranean worlds serve as poignant symbols, not just of conflict and division, but of resilience and the unquenchable human spirit striving to overcome adversity and secrecy.